Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. JD PicKell from On3 Sports with us in 15 minutes talking college football playoff final. Hadn't talked to JD since the semis and have not talked to him, obviously, in previewing the final. So we'll do that coming up in 15 minutes. What If Wednesday. We'll take your submissions in the Bayou Ford chat as well as on Twitter. Wild night in SEC hoops last night. We'll briefly touch on some of that. We'll speak with Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock about LSU's win over Arkansas last night. Saints are being mocked all over the place. Not the organization, the draft. Maybe the organization too. We'll talk about that at 2:15. And interesting little thing that I've realized with LSU's schedule for football next year that I want to dive into in the second hour. So we'll keep it rolling here for the next 2 hours. Appreciate you locking us in. We'll start the same way we start each and every day, and that is with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Tigers get on the board last night in the win column in SEC play, 78-74, the finals. They took down John Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks. I have two very distinct opinions about what I watched last night. I'll start with the first. Really, really great job by LSU. In my estimation, Arkansas is a more talented team than LSU. You look at Boogie Flan, the number one point guard in the country coming into this year. You look at a guy like Adu Thero, who is a high-level SEC player that has led Arkansas in scoring. You look at a guy like DJ Wagner, who was a five-star going to Kentucky. You look at Carter Knox, who was a five-star entering this year. You look at Trevin Brazile, who's going to be an NBA draft selection at some point. They've got a lot of guys on that roster with a lot of accolades kind of on the internet that has not translated on the floor. You look at LSU, it's a cast of a lot of transfers, some four-star recruits who were young players, and you had a couple of teams last night that were desperate for a win, and LSU showed its mettle and came out there and got it done. It was ugly early. LSU was 1 of 13 to start the game. That's not exactly ideal. And then the teams kind of traded runs back and forth in this game. You look at early on, as LSU was missing shots, Arkansas kind of asserted itself, took a 12-point lead with 7 minutes to go in the first half. LSU used kind of a flurry of late buckets. They drew up a great play right before halftime. Cam Carter comes off a pin down and buries a three at the top of the key at the buzzer to cut it to 2 at the break. LSU threw the first punch in the second half to go up by 4. Then Arkansas went on an 11-0 run to retake control of the game. But then LSU went on the biggest run of the game, a 21-5 spurt that was really spurred on by Cam Carter. And it appeared with 6 minutes to go that LSU had kind of separated from Arkansas, but Boogie Fland was not going to have it. And he, over the course of 2 minutes, hit 4 straight shots, including 2 threes, and drug Arkansas all the way back into the game. But ultimately, LSU had enough late, thanks to Sears and Collins and their effort at the free throw line, to beat Arkansas, and it didn't even come down to the last possession. Arkansas had the ball down 4, and of course you get the Damian Collins block at the buzzer to win it. So for LSU to come out without Victorious Miller, to get down multiple times, including double digits in the first half, in what was far from an electric crowd in the PMAC, and to come out and win that basketball game was great. It's been a long 3 weeks for that team when you consider the last week of the year and then coming into 3 SEC games they didn't play very well. And they dug themselves out of it and won the game, and that's an awesome thing for LSU. You look at the results around the SEC last night, and you see that Alabama got punked on its home floor. You see that Florida couldn't handle Missouri, fell down by more than 20 in the first half of that game. the league's tough. You win a game, especially this LSU team. I'm going to give you credit for that, absolutely. And that's where it starts. That's my first take on the game. My second take on the game, and I can't hide from this, is that you played a now 0-4 team that didn't do much in the non-conference either on your home floor. You got 27 points from Cam Carter. You got to the line 28 times and made 26 of them. You did a decent job of limiting turnovers to an extent. You did a great job on the offensive glass. All of these things went your way, including blocking 11 shots, and you win the game by 4. It feels like a lot of stuff went right for LSU to beat a team that kind of everyone now considers in the bottom tier of the SEC by 4 at home. Now, those two things are separate. I still think it's a great job by LSU doing what they had to do to win the game. And I still think, man, is that something you can rely on? Can you rely on Cam Carter going for 27, Jordan Sears going for 17, those two combining to go 14 of 14 from the free throw line? Derek Fountain was 6 of 6 from the free throw line. You shot 37% from three-point range. Can you rely on that night in and night out? I have my sincere doubts about that, but I'll be pretty honest with you. I'm going to leave that part of it to the side for right now, and we'll worry about that on Friday when we're previewing LSU and Texas A&M with or without Wade Taylor. I think today you got to look at this LSU team and say, nice job. Nice job responding to adversity early in the game. Nice job getting the ball to your best scorer in the second half. Nice job of Jordan Sears coming off the bench and making plays. Nice job, Mike Williams, who we thought would play last night. I didn't know Victorious Miller was going to be out, so can't give a full pat on the back there, but I did write on LouisianaSports.net, and I said on the show yesterday, why not play Mike Williams? And he did play 17 minutes. He made both of his shots. He made a huge 3 from the left wing. He was 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He dished out, he dished out 2 assists. I was reading Rob Miller's stats. He was 2 of 2 from the field, made a 3, was 3 of 4 from the free throw line, and dished out a couple of assists in his 17 minutes. And oh, by the way, he was +9 in the game for LSU, which I think is pretty important. I think he's got to play a little bit more moving forward. That's what I think. Another point that I made before the game yesterday was, hey, you're probably going to struggle going against a team that's in the top 5 in the country in blocks, driving it in there. And LSU kept driving it in there. They were 1 of 13. And most of that was around the rim early in the game. And they still only finished 7 of 21 on layups. But they kept driving and kept driving and kept driving. And it got into the free throw line. And I probably would not have continued to do that, but it kept working. And credit to LSU, to the players, to Matt McMahon, the game plan, and the execution of it to get to the line and then cash that in at 93%. From the line. That's essentially what won them the game. In the press conference after the game, we heard from John Calipari, we heard from Matt McMahon, but to me, I thought the most impactful quote that I heard in the postgame was Jordan Sears talking about this LSU basketball team. And I'll tell you that, and I say this a lot, and I think it bears repeating because it is access that I have that y'all don't have. I talk to these players, and I can promise you 19 to 24-year-old college athletes really, really, really do not look at their performance in the games the way that 95% of fans do. I'm not suggesting either one is right or wrong. I'm just telling you there's a big difference because I talk to the players and I'm interactive with the fans every day as part of the job. And every LSU basketball fan right now that I know is saying this team's not very good. They're not going to win any games in the SEC. They might be the worst team in the league. Look, I said they might be the worst team in the league. I said that 0-18 was on the table. Like, I'm right here with you. And I'm just analyzing what I see. This team doesn't think like that at all. At all. And you could call that delusional. You could call that compartmentalizing and focus. Either way, they don't. And this is what Jordan Sears had to say about staying positive after 3 losses to open SEC play.
Just internally, I feel like our chemistry as a team is through the roof, whether times are going bad or times are going good. So I feel like just us sticking together and continuing to work, doing what we do best. You know, outside noise is always going to be outside noise. So internalize everything and know what we got in our locker room and continue to work to be the best players we can be. And I feel like it's starting to show, through the hard times, and, it will get better.
I'm just telling y'all, this may not be worth anything, but I feel it's my kind of obligation to relay it to you. It's a confident group. Cam Carter thinks he's the best player on the floor every time they go out there. And sometimes he can't throw it in the ocean, like was the case in the 2 road games that they lost. And sometimes he gets white hot, and he scored last night 27 points on 15 shots, which is remarkable efficiency. You saw Boogie Fland, and he got his 19, which he usually gets. It took him 17 shots to get 19. Cam got 27 on 15 shots. There's your efficiency. But I'm telling you, this LSU basketball team, it does not think the way that most of the fan base on the outside thinks. Again, that's not worth any points on the scoreboard. But they're going to fight, and they're going to hustle, and they're going to scrap. And it's early, and they're going to go to College Station and see what they can do. My view of this as an analyst and who's relaying what I see to you, the listener, you, the fan, what I think Arkansas is really fighting it. I don't think they're well coached. I think they're going to struggle in the league all year. I don't think they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I think that this is one of a handful of wins for LSU. I don't know if that's 3. I don't know if it's 5. I don't right now think that it gets to 7 and is an NCAA tournament team. I'm not going to completely flip everything based on one half of basketball last night. But in the arena last night, talking to the players after the game and kind of sitting here and digesting everything they did last night, good win. Good job. You had to have it. I said yesterday, must win. They went out there and got it. Beck, you watched the game. You saw what this team looked like. They get their first win in league play. I don't know if your take was that Arkansas stinks or that LSU got it together, but what did you think watching?
Yeah, I don't think Arkansas stinks. I do think that even with the talent, Arkansas certainly has more talent than LSU. I do think that Matt McMahon is a better basketball coach than John Calipari. He's not as good of a recruiter, obviously, but I think he's a better coach, and I think that sometimes can show out just like it did last year when LSU beat Kentucky in the PMAC. So I think the biggest thing for this game was the turnovers weren't great. They had 15, but Arkansas didn't capitalize as well on those turnovers as other teams did.
I'll add to that. They had 15 turnovers. 3 of them were shot clock violations, which is not good.
No, it's not.
But the ball goes out of bounds and you go set up. It is not like getting your pocket picked and giving up a 3-on-1.
Yes.
And so a shot clock violation is bad, but it's not as bad as a quote unquote Will Wade. You say this, a pick 6, where you throw it in the passing lane and it's just a run out the other way. So if you take those away, yeah, you don't really truly get a great shot up, but you don't give them a run out, and really it looks closer to 12 turnovers.
Yeah, and yet again they got out rebounded offensively. Arkansas had 17 offensive rebounds.
Yep.
And I think that this is going to be when LSU wins games, it's going to look like this.
Yeah.
It's like the only way you can overcome giving up 17 offensive rebounds is when you have a guy like Cam Carter go for 27, go 10 for 10 from the line, and then Jordan Sears played probably his best game, and that's certainly in conference played his best game. Only 1 turnover for him. So that's the way that LSU can win games. That we see the blueprint for how I can win games. It's going to be like this. It's not going to be they're gonna give up offensive rebounds. They're going to turn the ball over. If they can limit the turnovers a little bit and not get annihilated on the offensive glass, they will have a chance as long as they can get a good showing from Cam Carter and Jordan Sears.
Kind of the only way. There's not a lot of versatility. There's not a single front court player on your team that is ever going to score 24 points in a league game. Like, that's just never going to happen.
Yep.
So for you to win a game, you're going to have to defend. You got to rebound as best you can, try to limit turnovers, and see if Cam Carter and Sears can't get you 40-something. And they did last night, and LSU wins at 78-74 in the PMAC. I can promise you this. I can't. My brain started working. There's only one time that John Calipari has seen that arena like that, and that was the Ice Bowl game, which was incredibly loud for the amount of people that were there, but there weren't a lot of people there. Last night, not a very good crowd, as you would expect, at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday with a team that's 0-3 in league play, but generally speaking, when Kentucky came, people just came to see Kentucky. That didn't happen last night, but LSU got it done. And speaking with John Calipari after the game in a press conference setting, not certainly one-on-one, That just looks like a guy that doesn't have a lot of answers and may not have a lot of interest in a lot of answers at this point. We'll see. I don't think this Arkansas experiment is going to work. I said that he raised their floor considerably. Maybe that's not true because their floor is not looking great at the current juncture. So LSU 78, Arkansas 74. JD PicKell talking football when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. I was chatting with them yesterday, and one of the things that I took away from that conversation was that they're truly experts in insurance, and the way that they get their clients and certainly keep their clients is by just giving a look at your current insurance program. If you're just not sure about it or you'd like a second pair of eyeballs on it, that's how the Highland Insurance Group wins their clients, because you've got a building that's improperly rated, or your workers' comp is not updated because you haven't audited your payrolls properly. And that's something that, generally speaking, your agent should be doing. And if they're not, because you just picked them because they had the lowest price last time around, it could come back and bite you later. And if your revenues are improperly reported and then they find out about it and you come back and your general liability gets a 4X bump in premium because the agent didn't do his job, that's not going to be very pleasant. You got to keep things on schedule, and you got to make sure all the details are taken care of. And the Highland Insurance Group is going to do that for you. That's the biggest takeaway that I had in speaking with them yesterday. I can speak their language a little bit, having been in the business. Maybe you can't, but they can teach it to you, and they can help you through it. If you're a business owner looking for a second pair of eyeballs on your insurance program, the Highland Insurance Group needs to be your first call. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Highland IG.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Every Wednesday, we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, talk to our guy, JD PicKell. He's the host of the Hard Count on 3. You can subscribe up to the YouTube channel, all college football all year round. And we've gotten to the final 2. Got to talk about how we got there and preview the national final coming up on Monday. JD comes to us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. How we doing, man?
Brother, doing phenomenal. It's bizarre. We got one more game left in this beautiful thing that has been the 2024 season. It's been a wild road, but fired to talk about some ball with you, man.
It's weird because, in this market, I'm so, into the transfer portal, and, we're in basketball season, and I'm starting to, inch towards baseball, and, college football is still going on, and I watched every snap over the weekend, but I don't feel like LSU is even close to playing football at this point, but they're still doing it with the 2024 cast of characters from Notre Dame and Ohio State. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the semis. We'll start with Notre Dame and Penn State, which was back on Thursday of last week, and the Irish get a 3-point win. I don't know if that game was a work of art by the quarterbacks, but I don't think Notre Dame cares, do they?
They really don't, man. They have a certain don't give a darn factor to themselves. And another part of it too is that Notre Dame, when you look at the box score, probably had no reason to win that game. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. They got outrushed by 100 yards. They didn't get to the quarterback nearly as much as Penn State did, and still found a way to get it done. And these past 2 wins for Notre Dame, I think, really just define this team. They're at a talent disadvantage in both those spots. In both games, they don't play all that elite on offense, but just this team just continues to find a freaking way. So Penn State, you could probably say a lot about what they don't have at the wide receiver position. I would break out the NIL wallet and get to writing some checks there to get some pass catchers in house. But yeah, man, I think there's just a lot of praise due to Marcus Freeman for getting that team in the spot they're in right now.
What do you think about James Franklin trying to go get that field goal at the end with Aller before he throws the pick? Obviously, they get the big run to start the drive, and it kind of kick-started them. I would imagine you got to go. It's just a bad decision by your quarterback, huh?
Yeah, and I'm probably more biased on this thought. I will always be pro go for it on 4th down, go for 2 to win the game as opposed to tie. And, some of that's probably just, how I'm wired, I suppose, and that sounds a little bit funny to say out loud, but I'm cool with the coach being aggressive. I'm cool with Sark and trying to pitch it out wide to get to the corner in the other game as well. So especially when you have Tyler Warren and you have Drew Aller, you probably don't want to go to overtime with this Notre Dame team with how good they've been up front. I'm totally cool with it, but yeah, poor decision by Aller. I think it Makes a lot of sense for him to come back. Like it's announced he's going to, it sounds like. But that's a plucky Notre Dame defense. Just you have to have something more on the perimeter to help a guy like Aller out.
So you got a pulse on national fan bases far better than we do down here in Baton Rouge. What do Penn State fans think about where they are right now after winning a couple of games and coming up 3 points short against the biggest brand that they played?
I think it feels like a missed opportunity because you had a team like Notre Dame in the semis, which if you're a Penn State fan, like feels like a very winnable game. Like it's a game that, quite frankly, you were up, 2 scores in early on, and a team that doesn't have all that much firepower offensively through the air that you let get back into the game. And it also feels like a missed opportunity because this was the year where it was all supposed to happen for you. Like you had this core nucleus that's there for this year. And now the flip side of this is they've had a lot of guys now still coming back, which is huge. But like Abdul Carter's not coming back, and then that's a massive loss in more ways than one for Penn State on the defensive side. So I think just the whole vibe of like, man, we had it all, drawn out for us here to have this be the year. And then if we did win, we draw a team in Ohio State, which I know that game went a way where it could have honestly been more lopsided towards Ohio State. But if you're a Penn State fan looking through the line colored glasses and you're like, man, we quite frankly could have gotten 2 scores in the red zone and given that, again, that we should have won. So there's a lot there, but yeah, missed opportunity is probably the headline there if you're in State College this time of year.
Here's the discussion around here. I want your thoughts on it. Has Marcus Freeman elevated Notre Dame to a level that Brian Kelly did not when you watch him play? It's tough to say. So the blanket answer is yes. I think they've elevated to a new place. I don't know that they have gotten to a spot where they're like are substantially more talented or they are substantially like a night and day different Notre Dame team. Because there's a lot of good players to on those Notre Dame teams that Brian Kelly fielded. I think the scary part about what Notre Dame is right now is just kind of what we said with the Penn State game. There's so many just unquantifiable factors, which sounds cliche to say out loud, but Marcus Freeman has dialed those up to 110 for this Notre Dame team. Like Ryan Leonard's great. I don't think he's, just like this world beater of a quarterback. Like they have, as a team, played super complimentary, overcome injuries, and are in a spot right now that I think they are playing above their abilities, which is what you got to do to go have a chance to win a national championship. So to answer the Brian Kelly question, I think the exciting part for Marcus Freeman, if I'm him, is like that you're now in a position with the way you've rebranded Notre Dame as a team that doesn't just show up to the postseason and get slaughtered by an SEC school. You have more firepower to recruit at a higher level. Let's talk Ohio State and Texas. Buckeyes win it 24-14. Of course, Texas had a chance to go down there and knot things up, and obviously Ohio State makes a big play. So did you take away that Ohio State is more human, that Texas is a better opponent than they had played? What was kind of the bigger takeaway there for you?
I think that was the most human we're going to see Ohio State in this playoff. And Hunt, we talked about it last time you and I jumped on the phone, man. Like, you hold Jeremiah Smith to 3 yards and still lose by 2 scores. Now, it could have been very different with that final play with Jack Sawyer running it back, but still, like, for that to be the final outcome and for Ohio State to not really have their best player look best player-ish, that's a little bit frightening. And I think the other part of this, too, is we've seen Ohio State in close game spots, to call a spade here this year, like kind of get tight. Like the game against Michigan, they go 1 for 3 on field goals and lose that game. The game against Oregon, it's a competitive, but also kind of bonehead play by Will Howard to slide before the clock expires, and like that never, I think, showed itself in the spot in the close game against Texas. I saw the opposite. So Ohio State's a wagon, and I think the win over Texas, as off day-ish as it was from Ohio State, I think they're going to come out with a vengeance in this national title game.
You buying Sark's stock at Texas for the next 5 years?
Man, after that game, yeah. And it sounds funny because of the showing that it was, and the play call gets a bunch of pushback, which I understand. But the call for me, man, are you a Drake guy? You like Drake, the artist? I know of Drake. I know that he gets made fun of for pulling for a lot of different teams. I can't name a Drake song. Okay, so Drake, great singer, great rapper. The first time I heard a Drake song, I was like, man, this guy's got a great voice. And then you hear another song by him, and you're like, oh, he's a great rapper too. Like Sark was always the play caller guy. He was always the singer. He was always the flashy offensive mind. What they've built in the trenches is going to be sustainable in the SEC with guys like Colin Simmons there for a while, Anthony Hill there for a while. They're going to have the price of admission up front, which I think speaks volumes to what Sark is as a true builder of a roster, as opposed to just being the guy that wears sweet shades and a cool pregame fit and then calls bangers most Saturdays in the fall.
All right, Monday, January 20th, Ohio State, an 8-point favorite against Notre Dame. They will kick it off from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm assuming you're leaning Ohio State pretty heavy here, more than the 8?
Not more than the 8, just
Okay.
because like we talked about Notre Dame, man, there's too much who knows what they're going to be factor in this spot. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Notre Dame got into a bar fight and won, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But still, we've seen too much from Ohio State. Think they win, think Notre Dame covers. I think it's a great game.
You think Notre Dame can run the ball on them?
I don't, and that's where I have trouble getting behind the idea they're going to win the football game. Like, again, I think it's possible. I think they would have to really double down and get super creative. I think it's going to have to be a Mike Denbrock game. Like, we gotta find ways to get Ohio State going downhill and get their hand in the cookie jar and find some explosives. Like, it's going to take a Mike Denbrock masterclass. Former LSU guy, obviously, to get it done. But I don't think it's going to be a thing where we look up and Notre Dame ran for $150 to 200 yards and they won the game.
All right, then let me take your prediction and kind of stretch it to the extremes. What would be more surprising to you, 41-13 Ohio State or 27-24 Notre Dame?
27-24 Notre Dame would be more surprising to me, Hunt. After I just lay all that out, just because I saw things against Penn State where that game, with it being 10-0 and how they ran the football, you're a little bit like, hey, I don't know, are we teetering on something kind of getting out of hand here? And also this Ohio State team, after the Texas game, I just got a feeling they got some blood in the water type feel to them. I think they kind of got this feeling that the ultimate prize is right there, and they have a chance to just drop the mic on everything that was said post-Michigan. So I think that if they get up, there's a chance that they start to leave no doubt.
Do we think the college football playoff has the exact same parameters next year as it did this year?
Yes, but 2026, I think it'll be a blender. I don't think it's just like add 2 teams, call it a day. I think it's like, all right, no bad ideas, blank white piece of paper, hit me with, like we're hitting the chalkboard and we're getting after it. But next year, I think it's the exact same.
All right, well, enjoy the football on Monday. We'll do it again one more time next week, JD.
You're the man. Appreciate you, brother, as always. Go Tigers.
JD PicKell, host of The Hard Count on 3 Sports. You can follow him on Twitter. Certainly subscribe up to the YouTube channel for your college football news. I know a lot of y'all are football all year round. If you're just looking for that fix, may not be getting it every day like you would want from here. JD's talking football all year long over there on YouTube, part of the On 3 News Network. All right, let's take a time out and come back with some What If Wednesday. If you're in the Bayou 4 chat, fire away. We'll get to him next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think luxury, think Genesis. I know when I say luxury vehicle brand, there are probably some brands that pop into your head. Think about Genesis. They're fantastic people over there. They've got an incredible line of vehicles at a reasonable price, and you get some great perks when you buy a Genesis. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That's as good as you're going to find in the industry. 3 years of complimentary maintenance. 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and not only complimentary, but valet maintenance as well. They come to you, they get the vehicle, they drop you a vehicle so that you can get on with your day, and they take care of your maintenance, whether that's the oil change, whether that's the tires, whether that's the wiper fluid, air filter, whatever the case may be. They got you covered over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check out the line of vehicles online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that's on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're on Airline near Piku. Hadn't been there a long time. Stop on by and see them. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Making typos in the Bayou 4 chat, apparently.
Unprofessional, Hunt.
Got to go quick. You just hit it and go.
Yeah.
Typos happen. It's just part of the world we live in here. Appreciate JD PicKell for jumping aboard there for a little bit of college football talk. We're going to talk some hoops with Matthew Burney at 2 o'clock. Saints mock draft 2 rounds from The Athletic. I went into that. We'll look at it at 2:15. And I noticed something interesting with LSU's opponents next year, and I wanted to kind of briefly get into that from a football perspective coming up at 2:30. But it's the bottom of the first hour. On Wednesdays, that's meaning time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if you could trade Big Three sports coaches with any other SEC school?
That's interesting. There are flaws everywhere. I mean, I think the first one you would look at, Tennessee's had a great run the last 2 years, but Heupel, hasn't climbed that mountain yet. Barnes has lost a lot in the tournament, and I don't like Tony Vitello. So, and I have no interest in trading baseball coaches with Tennessee at all. So I get that they're having a lot of success, but I'm probably okay where I am here. Ole Miss has got a basketball coach that's doing a phenomenal job. They've got a football coach that's winning at a level they haven't won at previously. But I think Mike Bianco's time as a guy at the top of the sport is long gone. So, and
I know you're going to scoff at this, Hunt.
What's
but
that?
Texas A&M.
I mean, they got a guy that's never coached a game on the baseball side.
They're also number one preseason.
Mike Elko's won what?
He's still,
Early's they got the number one team. People probably don't even know who their coach is Mike Early. They're the number one team in the country because Jim Schlossnagle was there.
Yeah.
And Buzz is doing a good job, but I'm not going to sell my soul for that. The answer to that is no. I would have to consider some of the others for various reasons. The A&M one's just a flat no.
Yeah. You could say Georgia, but then you got to take their basketball and baseball coaches.
Yeah, I had their baseball coach. He won me a championship with Paul Skeens. I'm good with my baseball coach. There's no baseball coach in America that I would trade with.
Yeah.
Trade for. None.
No.
And LSU's got a football coach with a lot of skins on the wall. And it's just kind of a deal where in Baton Rouge, you kind of weigh what's important here. So I'm good with the guys they got. I'm not in a hurry to make any sort of trade. I don't need Billy Napier to come here with Kevin O'Sullivan. I'm good.
All right, next one. What if TikTok gets banned?
It's not really going to affect me.
No, not me either, actually.
Our wonderful video team over there is on TikTok all the time. I don't even know how to log into TikTok. I don't really know anything about TikTok, and I don't think I make millions of dollars off of TikTok.
No.
So I wouldn't even notice, quite frankly, if TikTok got banned. I would have no idea.
All right, next one. What if you could play one Louisiana golf course you've never played before?
Interesting. I feel like I've played a lot of them. The ones that come to mind that I have not played would be Oakbourne and La Triomphe over in Lafayette. I have not played those. I have not played the new Golden Nugget golf course over in Lake Charles that they built with the casino.
You didn't get to play Coushatta.
I have played it, though.
Oh,
I played it in high
okay,
school.
okay.
It's just been 20 years. It's right when they opened it. It looks really nice. I didn't get to play it this time around because my wrist was hurt. And I've never played Bayou Désiré in Monroe, which I hear good things about. I think if I had to pick, I would probably take Oakbourne of the ones I've never played before. And obviously, being that I've never played any of them before, I don't know what any of them look like. So maybe if I toured them, I would have a different thought. But I've played a lot of golf courses in Louisiana. I think I would probably go with Oakbourne on that one.
All right, next one here. What if you had to erase one of these dishes from existence?
Ooh.
Gumbo or jambalaya?
Ooh. Here's my answer. And so I'll deduce it down from my answer. I've never made jambalaya. I love eating it. My wife doesn't really care about it, so I like gumbo a lot. I love to make it. It's like an afternoon-long thing. I drink some beers and I listen to a podcast, and it's an enjoyable pastime. And my wife is obsessed with gumbo. It makes her weak whenever I tell her that I might make some on Sunday or whatever. So it's really a hobby versus a dish.
Yeah.
I would erase jambalaya and feel terrible about it. I love jambalaya.
Yeah, and the thing for me is gumbo is one of those ones where you pretty much only eat it when it's cold. Like
Correct.
It's basically like soup. You don't really eat soup when it's hot. In Louisiana, we have about 9 months of heat.
Yes.
So I think I would have to lean on jambalaya here because you're going to be eating it a lot more during the year as opposed to gumbo.
Let me flip that on its head. So gumbo is part of the stuff that I look forward to in like
that's
January
true. So then you
and
wouldn't
early
have
February.
That to look forward to in
if
the
there's just
winter.
nothing, like I get primetime golf, my birthday, and gumbo. Like those are the three things that are good about January. So my primetime golf's already over. They've already left Hawaii. And once we get to February, you got baseball that comes around, and then March has got March Madness and spring football and SEC baseball and crawfish boils and all that kind of stuff. But like we're trying to find anything that's good when it's freezing cold around here, which right now I would consider this freezing cold. And gumbo is one of the good things that I like. So I love jambalaya, but I would take gumbo over it.
All right, next one here. We got some from the chat here. What if Marcus Freeman was the defensive coordinator of LSU and LSU was playing for the national championship? Who would get the credit? I mean, obviously not him on his own.
So,
like, because people talked about maybe Kelly possibly bringing Freeman with him. And
everyone would just say that was Kelly. No one would know who Marcus Freeman was.
Well, people would know who he is. He would probably get a head coaching job after they won the national championship.
I mean, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
This is a big day for Marcus Freeman on Monday. We'll talk about it certainly on Monday, previewing the game. But like, you go from they get dusted. You're just the same as Brian Kelly. You play it really tight. People feel like you're moving in the right direction. You win it. You're a legend. So it's a big 4 hours coming up for Marcus Freeman.
All right, next one here. What if Jared Jones, Stephen Milam, and Chase Shores are as good as they were last year or as good as we expect them to be this year? Is Omaha guaranteed?
Omaha's never guaranteed.
No.
It depends on, I guess, how good you think they're going to be. Chase Shores obviously didn't pitch last year. He's been a spot reliever, basically. Milam had a great finish to his season. I expect huge things from him. Who was the other one there? Anderson?
Jared Jones.
Jones. I mean, look, Jared Jones is going to be what he is. He's going to hit 20 homers. He could hit 30 homers. Depends on how long LSU plays and whether or not he stays healthy and how much people pitch to him. But he's the guy I have the least questions about really on the entire roster. He's going to hit. I would be stunned if Jared Jones did not hit between 290 and 320. Just realize that's a 30-point swing, but 290 to 320 with 22 homers. Like that's just what it's going to look like. There are big questions with a lot of the other guys that are going to be on the field. So LSU's going to have a good team. The schedule is far more forgiving, especially early on in conference play. So they ought to be able to figure some things out. And I've got a good feeling about this team, but you would be hard pressed to find me in many Januaries feeling like LSU was toast in baseball.
All right, this is a good one here. What if quarter zips didn't exist?
I mean, that's a horrifying thought, isn't it?
It is, really. I mean,
what did I used to wear? Oh, like I used to wear like North Face zip ups. That was the pre-quarter zip get up. I've not moved on to hoodies. I know everybody's on hoodies. I've got 2 hoodies. I got one from LSU for football this year, and then I got one from my buddy who's the head coach at Bossier Parish Community College. Those are the 2 hoodies I own. I wear them to run at 5:30 in the morning when it's cold. I don't love the hoodie we got from LSU because it's black, and I think LSU clothes should be white, purple, or gold, and I don't need to wear green or black or gray LSU stuff more often than not. But I'm a quarter zip guy. It's what I like to wear. I wear them on the golf course. I wear it to church. I wear it to work. I wear it to lunch. That's just what I put on when it's chilly outside. And if it didn't exist, that would be terrible.
All right, well, we don't have to worry about any more what ifs, possibly for my wife. She was very she was very upset with
remorseful about her December performance.
Well, no, and then she listened the last time when we actually read hers, and she didn't appreciate the fact that we were talking about how bad the
what was it? I don't even remember.
In December?
Oh no, I remember the December
one. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And then we talked about the fact that she had
traumatized the youth of Baton Rouge.
Yes.
Understood.
So she's kind of. I don't think she's going to be sending any.
She's a little shy
soon.
at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's okay, Mrs. Beck. We will we'll leave that where it was.
We'll persevere.
We'll move forward with our What If Wednesdays. But if you ever want to throw something back in the hat, that'd be perfectly fine with us. All right. When we come back, a ridiculous night last night. I've got some thoughts on it. We'll talk about it.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Awesome time right now to call Boudreaux's Electrical Services because right now you're not in the middle of a hurricane season. Don't have to worry anything about that perspective. Hopefully there's no ice storms in the near future. Get that installation done of that home standby Generac generator and make sure that when the summer rolls around and when hurricane season does show up, you're protected and you've got the peace of mind to know that you're not going to lose power at your home or at your business. Every installation is done by a full-time employee. Every installation comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty based on the kind of generator that you get. And there aren't going to be any VIP membership requirements or extra fees on top. Everyone is treated like a priority because you are at Boudreaux's Electrical. And that's why Neil and Melissa have been running this shop for 40 years. Their number's been the same for all 40 years, 985-397-1562. You hear that and you go, well, I'm not in the 985. Why would they come to me? Well, they will at that 985 number. But if it makes you feel better, they've got a location in Gonzales as well, 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389. But I give you the easy way every single day. That's online, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up hour number one here, Matthew Bruni in 10 minutes. Nate Oates has instilled a system in Tuscaloosa at Alabama that has won a ton of games for them. He's elevated that program to the top of college basketball, not like the pinnacle, but like in that top echelon. They've been that consistent in terms of winning games in the Southeastern Conference and being a tough out in the NCAA tournament. And when it's clicking, it looks like no one can beat them, because they get so many threes up. They make so many of them. It's so efficient. They've been in top 5 in offensive efficiency all year long. And every once in a while, it just comes to a screeching halt. And last night in Coleman Coliseum, it did. Alabama shot it horrendously, 5 of 20 from three-point range. But I looked at that number, I was like, 20? Because I couldn't watch the whole thing. I'm getting ready. I'm in the PMAC. I'm getting ready to watch LSU, and I'm getting everything set up in my press row, and I'm monitoring the score, but like I can't really lock in on what's going on in the game. And so I looked at that number. I was like, they're 5 of 20. 5 is obviously a way low number, but so is 20 for Alabama. I've seen Alabama shoot 34, 37 threes before. They would like to do that. And the reason they couldn't is because they turned the ball over just an obscene amount of times for an offense that efficient. They had 21 turnovers against Ole Miss. The Rebels had 3 different players with 3 steals. Sean Padula had 3 steals, Matthew Morrell had 3 steals, and Dre Davis had 3 steals. They had 14 in total, and Alabama was just completely out of sorts, and they only scored 64 points. It is not difficult for Alabama to go run up 100 points on anybody in league play. And Chris Beard's Ole Miss system just absolutely threw the clamps on Alabama yesterday in Tuscaloosa. You add in a historic day for Malik Dia, their big, who had 19 rebounds to go along with his 23 points, nearly a 20-20 game for him. And Ole Miss, though they were down 4 at the half, just blitzed Alabama in the second half and beat them 42-28 after halftime to win in Coleman, which most teams just don't do. And that's a huge credit to Ole Miss for what they've become in that program in year 2 under Chris Beard. It was inevitable that he was going to get this team right because he built a power at Texas Tech that got to a national final. He had Texas in the top 10 before he screwed up, and then Ole Miss gave him a second chance, and he's got that team playing really good basketball. And I was floored. I was surprised that Ole Miss won. I was floored they held Alabama to 64 points. Floored. That's incredible. I was also floored that Missouri went into Gainesville and just punched Florida between the eyes. Like, we talked about Missouri last week. I thought they were a better team, but you're talking about a team that was 0-for in league play last year. And they've overhauled that roster, and they went down to a top 5 team in Florida that was 15-1, that had beaten Tennessee by 1,000 in the O-Dome. And Missouri drops 50 in the first half and leads by 16. Now, Florida scratched and clawed and got all the way back, and Missouri ultimately did enough to win the game by 1 point, 82-83. But a heck of an effort by Missouri to go down there and take that kind of commanding lead. I think probably right now Walter Clayton is the best scorer in the SEC. He's Florida's leading scorer. He had 28 points in the game last night. Florida just not enough to come back from the hole they dug against Missouri at home. So those two teams losing on their home floor, 2 top 5 teams losing on their home floor was pretty wild last night. And then you kind of had a hold of serve from Kentucky against Texas A&M. A&M goes out there without Wade Taylor. That's who LSU will play on Saturday. We'll see if Taylor is available for that game at home. But Kentucky scores 81 points. Mark Pope's offense is really humming right now, and I think a lot of that's due to Jackson Robinson, who led them in scoring with 22 last night. He knocked down 5 threes. He took 13 threes, but he knocked down 5 of them. Kentucky's just a different team with Mark Pope running the offense. It just looks better, it looks cleaner, and they're scoring more efficiently than they have. Last year they had a ton of talent. Reed Shepherd was probably the purest of that talent, but they weren't as good. And this year you're talking about a team that's 14-3. They're 3-1 in league play. They beat another top 15 team last night in Texas A&M, scoring 81 points, and they outscored them by 9 in the second half to salt that one away pretty easily. So we'll get into Texas A&M as LSU gets ready to go to College Station for a game on Saturday. We'll talk about them on Friday. But a hold of serve there by the number 8 Wildcats against number 11 Texas A&M. The only kind of standard issue result of last night in league play. Tonight, you've got 2 of the lesser-than teams in the SEC. South Carolina's at Vanderbilt, 2 ranked teams as Georgia goes to Knoxville to play in that one. It's an 11.5-point spread. Tennessee's favored. And then you got Texas and Oklahoma. Somebody going to become the first, somebody's going to get their first win in league play as those 2 teams play in Norman. Oklahoma is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. So that's a snapshot look at the Southeastern Conference as we get into the end of midweek basketball in the SEC. All right, if you missed any of hour number 1, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Hunt Palmer Shows, what you need to search, like, subscribe, rate, and review. We'll step aside for Sports Center. Saints mock drafts coming up. SEC quarterbacks talks coming up. Matthew Bruni talking some hoops with us on the other side of the break. It is a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.